But let's begin this morning with what could be a pivotal week in the 2024 presidential race. Former Vice President Mike Pence and former New Jersey Governor Christie are expected to announce their bids to the Republican nominee this week, to be the Republican nominee this week. Most of the Republican candidates spent the weekend in Iowa. That is where former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley joined CBS Mornings from. She weighed in on the issue of abortion, which remains a big issue in the Hawkeye State.
I am unapologetically pro-life, but it's a very personal issue. I'm pro-life because my husband was adopted. I'm pro-life because I had trouble having my children. And what I think we need to do is understand everybody has a story. I don't judge people for being pro-choice any more than I want them to judge me for being pro-life. But if we're going to have a conversation about a federal ban, let's have an honest one.
CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa is watching all of this for us. Bob, good morning.
Good morning. The annual Roast and Ride fundraiser hosted by Senator Joni Ernst has become an important marker at the beginning of Iowa's political calendar. Many contenders did show up, shaking hands, posing for selfies, and seeking a breakthrough.
Iowa was full of motorcycles, barbecue, and Republican politics.
How's the great state of Iowa?
8 GOP hopefuls were on hand, but missing was frontrunner former President Donald Trump, who was in the Hawkeye State last week. Iowa's Republican Governor Kim Reynolds was there Saturday and responded to Trump's absence.
Well, I think it was a missed opportunity. We had nearly 1,000 Iowans that were at the state fairgrounds to listen to the candidates that are vying to be the president of the United States.
President Biden and the Democrats remain the main target for the GOP field.
Joe Biden's policy are the wrong direction for America.
Taking aim at their handling of the economy, the military, transgender rights, education, immigration, and abortion.
You can't do any of it if you don't win.
While Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who's running second in the polls, continued to take veiled swipes at Trump.
There is no substitute for victory. And we need to dispense with the culture of losing that has beset the Republican Party in recent years.
Ambassador Nikki Haley.
On Sunday night, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley used a CNN town hall in Iowa to make her case.
It is time for a new generational leader. It is time for us to leave the baggage of the past, the negativity to the past, and start thinking of our families.
And this week, former Vice President Mike Pence hopes to drive up his chances.
And I don't have anything to announce today, but I can tell you, when I got time to announce come this Wednesday, I'm announcing in Iowa.
Also expected to get in the race this week, former New Jersey Governor Christie, who is set to announce on Tuesday in New Hampshire, and North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum on Wednesday, all ahead of the first Republican primary debate in August. Anne Marie, Vlad.
All right, Bob, thank you very much. Well, CBS News politics reporter Aaron Navarro is in Washington with the latest on the GOP race. So let's talk about it. The Roast and Ride fundraiser was the largest event yet for the 2024 candidates and hopefuls, I guess. Biggest takeaway, who sort of stood out?
Anne-Marie and Vlad, thanks for having me this morning. I think first, one big takeaway is that no one on stage mentioned Trump. In the corner of the room was a lot of Trump volunteers, a lot of people wearing Trump 2024 shirts. And to me, that was another sign that his presence looms over this primary. Now, in terms of the speakers that were there, DeSantis, the governor from Florida, was the closer. There was a lot of excitement as he came on stage. And really, it was the most retail politicking I've seen from him. A lot of shaking hands with voters before, after the event, going from table to table, and for someone that maybe was considered the vulnerability of leading into his campaign, he seems to have tried to buck that in Iowa. Mike Pence was the only actual rider at this Roast and Ride. Positive reaction there, but no voters that I talked to told me that they were die-hard Pence supporters. There's some interest, but one voter actually described him to me as, quote, vanilla. So we'll see what changes as he actually gets into this race later this week.
So while these candidates and potential candidates, they did not bring up Trump's name, did they speak about each other at all, or were they basically taking aim at the Biden administration?
Basically taking aim at the Biden administration on stage. Now, I've talked to Vivek Ramaswamy, former Governor Asa Hutchinson, and I asked them about Governor Ron DeSantis, given that he's kind of, the second up to Trump. And they took some shots at him when it comes to his handling of Disney. But on stage, they kind of just kept it to their message and attacking Biden.
And so how did Governor DeSantis do? I mean, he's actually been spending a lot more time than pretty much anyone else in that state.
Yeah, that's right. It was his first big week in Iowa. I got the sense that there was a lot of curiosity of his campaign. There were about 7,000 voters across his 12 events, according to his campaign. And it seemed clear that right now it's him and Trump that are at the top of mind for voters. Take a listen to some of the voters we talked to this week in Iowa.
I initially was a Trump supporter, who I still support if he's the nominee, but I'm leaning towards DeSantis right now.
Why is that?
Younger. I shouldn't even admit that. I want 2 terms.
We have a lot of good candidates, but the thing that I think sets Governor DeSantis apart is his record. He has accomplished so much. He has followed through what he's promised in the state of Florida. Just like here in Iowa, we've passed similar policies, and Iowa is better for it. Our profile is rising in the Midwest, and it's due to good leadership like Governor Reynolds and Governor DeSantis.
So one voter did tell me that they were 80% sure that they were going to vote for DeSantis. I asked what could, make up that 20%, and they just said, we'll just have to see how he runs his campaign.
All right, that's fair. That's how it should go, actually.
Right.
So let's talk about some of the other candidates. Forget about the 2 people at the top of most polling, DeSantis and Trump. These other GOP contenders, they are going to have to cut through a lot of noise. And there are, 2 more coming on. Christie says that one of his tactics is going to be to take aim at Trump, to say what no one else is willing to say about Trump, be critical. North Dakota's governor has, run a very conservative, or passed a lot of very conservative policies. What will these candidates do to sort of separate themselves from the pack?
One approach is to kind of take a wait-and-see approach and see DeSantis and Trump kind of fight it out. That's what we saw last week. They both kind of took shots at each other. That's what Vivek Ramaswamy told me in a poll aside. That's what Asa Hutchinson brought up. Another approach, when I attended a Tim Scott event in Council Bluffs, Iowa, someone asked him about the polls, someone in the crowd, noting how he hasn't really gained much traction. And Tim Scott mentioned, I think I have a much more optimistic approach. I think this is what Republican primary and caucus voters are going to want. So kind of honing in on his own core message. But I think for both of them, for Trump and DeSantis, if they continue to fight each other, I asked many Republican voters if they're turned off by that, and no one really seemed to be paying attention that much as of now.
Interesting. Aaron Navarro, thank you.